All right, so we're gonna do under the hood pre-trip. Let's unlatch the hood. We're gonna start on the passenger side. We're gonna check the air box. There's nothing inside the air box. No nest, no debris. Air box is secure. We're checking all the hoses. We're looking to make sure there's no damage to the hoses. Make sure they're all clamped, secured. We're working our way back. We're gonna check the alternator. Alternator secure. All the wires here look good going to the alternator. We're gonna come over. Our fan spins freely. We're also going to check our serpentine belt. There's no more than 3/4 of an inch of play. I don't see any damage at all to the belt. Looking down here, I don't see anything leaking from the water pump. Coming back to the filter, it's secured, no damage to it, nothing leaking from it. As we work our way down, we're gonna check shock absorber. It's bolted into place. I don't see any damage to it. It's not leaking anything. Coming back, looking at the back side of the radiator over here, I don't see any damage. I don't see anything leaking. Both horns are secured. Windshield washer fluid is capped and full. No cracks at all or damage to the container. Coming back, we're checking the leaf springs. They're straight. I don't see any damage to them. They're secured by the 2 U-bolts, bolted. Going back, looking at the shackle and the bushing, everything's secured. Everything looks good. Coming back, you can see the tie rod. It's straight. It's secured. I don't see any damage to that. The hoses coming off the brake chamber, they're secured. I don't see any damage to the hose. I don't hear anything leaking. They're attached, secured to the brake chamber. Brake chamber is not damaged. Everything looks good. I don't hear anything leaking from it. In front of the brake chamber, you have the slack adjusters. They're upright. Both cotter pins are in place. Don't see any damage there. Inside of the tire, I don't see any bulges. Don't see any cuts, damage. The rim looks good on the inside. There's no illegal welds. I'm looking in the inspection windows. I don't see any cracks in the brake pads. Everything looks good. So at this point, I'm finishing up. I'm taking one last glance around if there's anything at all that I missed, and it don't appear so. So let's go over to the other side. This side, we're gonna start up top. We're checking the wiring. I don't see any damage to any of the wires. I don't see anything burnt. I don't smell anything out of the ordinary. All the lines look good. Don't hear anything leaking. We're coming across here. Again, we're checking the hoses. We're checking clamps. No damage, nothing leaking. The reservoir, it's capped. No damage to it. Fluid level looks good. We're gonna work our way back. We're gonna pull out our engine oil, the dipstick. We're gonna check that to make sure it's full. You have to check that when the bus is not running. Underneath that, the filter. Filter looks good, it's not leaking. Everything looks good there. We work our way back. Our rear filter looks good, no damage, not leaking. Here we have our transmission fluid. This is to be checked when the bus is running with the parking brake applied, and you're going to check it when the bus is up to temperature.
Now let me ask you, AJ, when you check the oil, are they going to ask you to pull it out and check and then?
You shouldn't have to, no.
Okay.
Nope. You can, it's not going to hurt anything. We're going to work our way back here. Actually, in the back here, if you look, there's 2 lines here going into the compressor. On these buses, they're all internal compressors for the brake system. So you just want to make sure that's not damaged. You don't hear anything leaking from it. You don't see any fluids leaking from it. So that looks good back there. Now we're going to check our steering arm. It's secured. It's not damaged. Work our way down to the gearbox. It's secured. I don't see any damage to it. Below the steering gearbox is going to be the pitman arm. It's secured to the drag link by a castle nut and a counter pin. No damage to the pitman arm, no damage to the drag link. The drag link is secured by 2 castle nuts, both with cotter pins installed. Shock absorber on this side looks good. It's bolted. Don't see any damage to it, nothing leaking. Leaf springs look good on this side. They're secured by the U-bolts. No damage to those. Looking to the back, the shackle looks good. The bushing looks good. Everything looks secured. The brake lines here, I don't see any damage to them. I don't hear anything leaking from them. Secured to the brake chamber. Don't see any damage to the brake chamber. I don't hear anything leaking from the brake chamber. Cotter pins are both in place in the slack adjusters. They're upright. Don't see any damage. Inner tire looks good. No damage, no bulges, no illegal welds to the wheel. Looking in at the inspection windows, I don't see any damage to the pads, any cracks. From this side, we're looking at the tie rod. Look straight on this side. It's secured. No damage. Don't see any leaks. We're looking at the power steering fluid. It's full. It's capped. So at this time, we're going to just glance over it one more time just to make sure there's nothing that we missed. Everything looks good on this side. So at this time, we can close the hood and secure it.